Hello and welcome to IGN Overclocked episode 22. My name is Mitch Dyer, and I'm only half as excited about the Dota 2 Shanghai Major starting this week as Marty Sleep.
Oh my God! Can I leave? Is this like is this like a ploy?
Woo! If there's anything that I know about Marty, it's that he loves Dota.
No, but I love Shanghai.
Who do you play?
Geo. He's a rock. He's a giant.
Sure.
He's a giant boulderman.
There is a giant boulder.
Yeah, it's
There
because
are
all
several
120
giant
Destiny stars in Dota are all based on stupid fantasy tropes.
Yes.
Well, I play Skywrath Mage.
Is that real? Skyrim Mage?
The real guy.
Yeah.
Dothraki?
Alana Pierce. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
We've been talking very loosely about oh, you're gonna play Dota again sometime. No.
I'll get around to it.
Don't do it. Don't do that.
Someday. Dan Stapleton, welcome back.
I don't think I can name a single Dota character.
Try. Name one Dota character.
Just come up with a random fantasy name.
But Marty already did it.
Don't pick that one. Just pick.
Oh.
Not that one. Geo's not a good random. I thought that he was talking about like an Italian restaurant. Do better than that.
No, I know the one character who's named 10. I thought his name was 10 for the longest time, and it turned out it was Io.
Can I play as Zangief?
That's a totally other esport.
Yeah.
Whole other thing.
Yeah.
It's close though.
I don't really play fighting games either. So
All right.
what do I play? That's a good question.
I don't want to talk about XCOM either. Damn it! What happened?
You're on the wrong podcast, sir. Vive is $800.
Yep.
Can we talk about that?
That's a lot of money.
That's less than I expected.
Yeah.
It also
really?
comes with 2 games, which is great.
Wait, what does it come with?
Job Simulator and something else that I've already forgotten.
It doesn't come with the light.
It comes with everything. Wait.
Yes, it comes with
wait,
Lighthouse. It comes with the controllers. It comes with
Lighthouse isn't it Lightbox? The art one.
Oh, the Google thing.
The one where you draw the things.
Sculpting.
No, it's called brush.
Light.
Tilt brush.
Brush. There we go.
brush.
I don't know why I'm
Yes.
thinking of light. So it doesn't come with that.
Not to my knowledge, no.
And his Job Simulator, how long is that game meant to be? Because, the demo I played was really short, and I
Yeah,
can't
so
imagine them stretching it out.
Yeah,
much
they've got.
longer.
When I played it at the HTC event a while back, a few weeks ago or whenever it was, there was they introduced the sort of hub at the beginning of the game where it's okay, this is you're in a funky museum where robots are laughing at the old ancient humans, and the jobs are you play the jobs by getting Super Nintendo cartridges and putting them in a box and then
Yes.
simulating the job. There are 8 of those, I think.
Okay, so it's probably an hour or two.
They definitely want each job to be half an hour to an hour.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
it started out with the demo you probably played was really short.
Mine was office job.
Okay, yeah. So everything they've shown so far has been here's this setting. But in that setting, they have now developed a bunch of structure and game design into it.
Yeah, and challenges.
Walk around the office because I couldn't do any of that.
No, but they give you specific tasks, and it becomes about less about there's fun stuff to mess with, and now I actually have a job to do because someone has assigned me. Okay, I need you to make this sandwich in the kitchen, and you need to mess with all the stuff to get the right ingredients and the right tools to toast bread and.
I mean, it's hard
whatever.
to sell, but I think it's super fun.
I love that game.
But I also think having it in bite-sized chunks is a very good idea because I can't imagine wanting to play it for hours on
Yeah.
end.
Are you going to pay $800 to play a Job Simulator?
No.
Right.
You wouldn't pay $800 to make a cool sandwich?
Yeah. Well, that depends on the sandwich, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, I think comparing this to the Oculus price is not entirely apples to apples because the Oculus does not come with touch controllers. It does not come with the Lighthouse setup, which is the room scale stuff, which can keep track of where you are walking around a room.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
The room scale stuff is insane too.
It's also just really accurate.
completely changes the way you play.
I feel like the Vive is, in terms of the technology, the most functional one. It tracks you incredibly well.
it's more ambitious, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's to its detriment. It's harder for people to have.
Right. You need a room or
Really
space in your
specific
house
space.
where
it's
you can.
such a luxury.
Right.
Most people living in San Francisco can't have one.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it simulates a sense of space better than anything I've ever seen before, probably.
Right.
That is very true.
Yeah.
So it's much more specialized toward that use case where you've got those room scale VR experiences. The Oculus can't do that out of the box. It does not have the Oculus touch controllers, which got pushed back to the second half of the year.
So how much is Oculus?
600.
600.
Do you think the touch controllers and
$100.
potentially
I think
$100 each?
No,
probably
probably
not
the
each.
pair.
Yeah.
I mean the controllers, and then if you were to add a camera that could track you, they could each,
yeah.
and then you would effectively have the same price as the Vive.
Yeah, I mean it could be roughly the same. Yes.
Probably would.
Yeah, so it's and the Oculus does have head tracking. So
Yes.
it knows where your head is
Yes.
in the space, but it's meant for a stationary VR experience as opposed to the walking around and tripping over the cord experience that the Vive offers.
Yeah, the Vive does have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Vive will ever release without the other two things? It will just release as effectively an Oculus.
I doubt it.
No.
Simply because they want people to develop software
Yeah, right.
for that room
Same
scale
idea
experience.
as the Kinect originally releasing. With
Exactly,
every
yeah.
Xbox.
They also, game devs are now building games in VR. Like literally, you put the VR headset on, and now you have the controllers, and that's how you're building your level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that-
So cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unreal Engine added that in.
Yeah, I saw that
love
demo. That was amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that we're getting to that point where Oculus has stuck its flag in the ground, Vive has stuck its flag in the ground. We think on March 15th, PSVR is going to stick its flag in the ground. But as of right now, like, price to me is weirdly nebulous because it's just about the software, and we don't know a ton about all the software that's out there. Like, we know a handful of titles that Oculus is launching
Yeah, we
with.
know like 12 Vive games.
Yeah, and we know some of these,
While
but
I
like,
think the Vive is the best, I can't imagine any amount of software that would make me want to spend that much money on it. Like, I think it's the better of the
I mean, I
three.
want to spend the money. I just don't have the money.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
If I had more money, I would.
Yeah.
But
I
I just can't imagine any game at my current income being worth me spending the $800
Yeah.
on it, Like,
Well, I mean,
I want
when you think
the
about
office.
it, the PlayStation 3 launched at what, $700?
six. Yeah, $599.
Yeah, so
that's why I didn't get one until like 4 years later.
Right, but it's like we had the same conversation about the $600 Oculus. Like for a new piece of technology that does something that you just can't do somewhere else. Like, it's not an outlandish amount of money, but yeah, it is a significant investment that a lot of people can't afford.
Yeah, it also comes down to your hardware, mostly your GPU, because I ran the Vive performance test, which we'll get into a little later, on my work machine, which it's a couple of years old by this point, right?
At least I'm not exactly sure.
It's
what
like one of the
you're
old,
running,
like, hilariously Wu-Tang named PCs. So it's like, it's a few years old, but it's still really good. I can run basically any game on it, no problem. But I failed the performance test. It's like, you cannot run Vive, like, not even on the lowest
That's
settings
crazy.
at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about running things at very high resolution at 90 frames a second.
Twice.
Yeah, so I mean, the combined resolution.
Yeah.
I forget what the combined resolution is, but it's higher than 1080 significantly, and it's because you've got a 1080 screen per eye, so it's double that, I guess.
So the market for the Vive is really small. It's people who are willing to spend $800, and then it's people who have a PC that can run it,
and people who have a space to set it up.
and people have space to set it up. So it's all of those things. What is the market for Vive? How is it going to pay off for them that they built this thing?
I don't think it will for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
It
this
can't,
is
right?
this is the first generation product, right? It's not going to. They're not going to turn a profit, especially with all the R&D they put into
Totally.
it.
Vive is a long con, for
They've
sure.
spent years on it, and they'll spend more years, like figuring out like
How
once
to
they
make it wireless.
Yeah, once they get it wireless, like that'll be a game changer. But and they got to wait for the software to really mature and
And for
come out with
developers
the
to
killer
become
apps.
comfortable with the hardware.
Right, everyone's still finding their sea legs.
Yeah, I also read a forum about someone theorizing that you could effectively use all of the things in your house that might have webcams to track where you are instead of having to actually get those cameras.
Interesting.
That they might be able to do
right.
that in the future. You could put a webcam on your TV. You could open a laptop somewhere
Yeah.
so that you could use
Sort of like
them
create the
to-
3D space
wow.
out of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like jerry rig a setup.
Yeah, which apparently is possible and would also be more convenient. But
Yeah, I would
know
think
how
they would
they
want
objects.
like depth sensing cameras along the lines of what the Kinect does.
Yeah.
So you'd probably want specialized hardware to make that a good experience.
Yeah,
make
it
it
sort of
work the
needs
way
it
that it should.
because
But, I mean, those
Chaperone requires that.
Yeah.
To
And
those are-
monitor where you
Oh,
are.
you're right.
Those are
that's right.
getting cheaper all the time. So like within 2 years when they come out with the next version of it, probably we might see something like that where you got very cheap cameras you can place around. But
Yeah, it's funny. Like the thing about the Vive is like, in theory, I could save the money for it and save the money to build a new PC. Like if I just stopped drinking for like a week and a half. I literally
$800? Jesus, Mike.
dating bartenders is not paying off. But I can't have I don't have a bigger space. Like I'm not going to be able to afford a bigger space.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be able to move out of my apartment, my single
Like,
bedroom.
I have the space. I'm lucky enough that my apartment's living room is amazing. It's huge.
Yeah.
I could do it. I'd have to like shuffle stuff around, but whatever. But like that price is a lot because I have to factor in building a new PC. which I really wanted
that's
to.
kind of exactly my thing. Is like the house that I live in has 3 IGN employees, and we have a room that has nothing in it.
Perfect.
It would be perfect for Vive if we all like pitched in money to buy one.
Or what if you just steal IGNs?
We just steal the one that IGN will maybe get. Then
I hope Pear doesn't listen to this.
then I think, if it were cheaper, then I probably would do it. But then I'm barred by the PC thing. We don't even have a PC in our household.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
should
like,
get one.
I would also.
I keep yelling at you to get one.
totally know that I should get one, but it's like that's the only thing that's stopping me is the price of the PC on top of the Vive. Like
Yeah,
that's
and again, just to reiterate, this is an early adopter technology. It's a first generation thing. It's like the people that lined up to buy the first iPhone, like
Yeah.
that when it was
Sure.
before they even had a subsidy on it. They were paying $600-700 for an iPhone.
Which 2 years later, you look back at that original model and you're like, oh God, that is
see that
archaic.
turned to profit.
This stone
Like
tablet.
as someone who knows little about business, why do you think they're even going ahead with it? How is it? They're not going to make any money.
Well, I'm not at first, but I
Yeah.
mean,
I think they know and
a
accept
lot of
that.
people. A lot of people are betting real big that VR is going to take off in a big way in the coming years.
And especially in in something bigger than a video game sense.
Right.
Like
It's
video
not
game's
just
sort of the tip of the iceberg.
The thing
Yeah,
too is
point.
like keep in mind the thing that Valve is selling on whatever the release date is. I've already forgotten.
April something? I think it just said April.
Whenever that thing comes out, it is not being sold to any of us. The 4 of us, if we buy it, great. This thing is being sold to developers. This is the thing that is going to be out there, and it's going to show
Interesting.
developers what is possible, and it's going to be the coattails thing. Like they're going to see it and go like, "Oh, okay, this is amazing. This is like,
it
sort
is.
of life changing."
Yeah.
and I want to make something for this, and it's
So-
about getting attached
So
developers.
you think this first one is for devs to buy? That would because I'm saying
no,
you know
it's
not
I
even
think
to
the
buy? It's
market's
just
very
I think it
small.
wants developer attention.
Well,
They
I mean,
want people to
they've already got that with the developers kit. This is the first consumer release. It is for the early adopters, the people that line up for new stuff.
Yeah.
Sure,
and,
but I
and
think-
there is a substantial market for that. It's not a big number of people,
Definitely.
but it's a bunch of people with a lot of disposable income,
and they
that are
need
gonna-
that. They
Yeah.
want that. But I think
A lot
their
of people
bigger
who
goal
live in
right
San
now is
Francisco
developers.
actually maybe would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
the Bay Area would be the kind of people who would buy that kind of thing.
I'm curious to see how these are going to be, if they are going to be demoed. Like, I imagine
Where
this
do you
isn't
do
going
it?
to have shelf space at Walmart.
It's not going to be on display at Best Buy where you.
I think
it will.
I think there will be things at Best Buy. Like, I think they'll
Like a
create little
VR
corners.
room?
Yeah, and
You know
it'll be
when
manned by an employee all day. And
I don't know about I mean specifically for the room scale stuff, but there will definitely be
Oculus stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, and Vive stuff that isn't room scale.
I'm never going to put a weird Best Buy headset on my face.
Well, not
gross.
without a few moist towelettes
To be fair, if I hadn't had the chance to try VR yet, I probably would have.
Sure.
Because it's incredible and I really care about it. But when I played Vive, I was in front of you and I had tons of cords and it was all very heavy. Did you have the same amount?
yeah, totally.
Did you
And it
have
felt
the
like this
same cords?
umbilical cord coming out the back
So
of
I
your head.
didn't. Oculus isn't like that. PSVR isn't like that.
Even HoloLens isn't like that.
Even HoloLens
has its
isn't
other
like
problems,
that.
but not the cord thing.
The Vive is just so damn cordy that I feel like they probably can't really show it in retail effectively at all without lawsuits scaring people off. Like
Yeah.
someone trips over the 1,000 heavy cords. And
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not just like, yeah, they were like big cords, and there
Yeah.
were cords like wrapped in other like
Yeah.
cord condoms and
Yeah.
cord
A whole lot
domes.
of cords.
Yeah,
And they need someone to monitor that really closely. It just it's a difficult,
Cord master.
It's a difficult thing to market. And
Well,
I'm actually really excited to see how they do it.
I think it's easier for them to set up demos where people can try it than it is for people to take it home and use it themselves
Definitely.
without having a spotter.
Yeah,
That's always the weirdest thing. We've talked about that.
First VR
Yeah.
death. That's probably not going to be that far away.
God.
Someone's
Did
gonna
anyone
be in
die?
VR and never leave. Or
Yeah,
they're
I
gonna
mean,
trip over them cords
there were those
for
stories about
seconds.
how like when the Wii came out, people were like breaking their TVs and
Oh, yeah,
throwing it
throwing
at the
their remote.
walls and like hitting their dog with it. Like, man, this could be worse. You step on your dog.
really bad.
I mean,
Step on an entire
Well, yeah,
dog. Peppers.
Yeah, I think stepping on obstacles that you have failed to clear from your zone.
That's
will
your
be
own idiot fault.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
that's
Vive also
the
helps with that one. The others don't.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Vive, you can see
well,
stuff.
Vive's the only one where you're supposed to be moving around.
True.
But I mean, with Oculus, like you could spin around in your chair and get tangled in the cord, but that's about it.
Choke to death.
Yeah.
Punch your coffee off your desk.
Right. Yeah, and
Punch your dog.
But I mean,
Punch your dog
especially before you have the Oculus Touch controllers and are waving those around.
Sure.
Like the Oculus, you're just gonna be sitting there with an Xbox One controller, so you'll be okay with that one.
Yeah.
And as long as you clear out the environment around your Vive, you should be okay. You know, in your Vive space, you should be okay as well because it has all the stuff that like senses where you are and will put up a grid saying, "Hey, don't go over there. That's a solid object."
Yeah.
So they are taking like the safety pretty seriously. So don't set this thing up on a cliff.
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
Idea.
I used as much as I think Vive's still by quite a ways the most impressive VR thing I've used, but I got to use Oculus Touch for the first time at DICE on an Epic's game Bullet Train, which is it's a first person shooter, but the
one where you teleport?
Yeah, so the way you sort of move around the environment, like your train pulls up to this arena, and the way you move around the environment is you can hold the trigger on one of the Oculus Touch controllers, and sort of it slows down time, and then it like shoots a beam of light out of your hand, and you point to one of probably like a dozen or so nodes around the train station, and you instantly, like when you let go of the trigger, you teleport there.
It's very similar to budget cuts.
Yes, and then you have a 360 degree view of there. So it almost reminded me of like Time Crisis or like House of the Dead, but you had the ability to hop around the environment and have a 360 view. So to me, it worked really well as a shooter because I didn't have to worry about 360 degrees as well as what my feet are doing. Like my feet didn't exist in this game.
Yeah.
I was just hopping between nodes and nodes. But then once you get to one of the 12 spots, each one sort of has a different gun next to it. So there's like a pair of pistols. And so you could pick up a pistol with one hand and a clip with the other hand. And it was just, again, incredibly natural.
It feels so cool to reload a weapon.
And then like the guy from Epic was like, you could toss the gun from hand to hand. And so I started like tossing the gun from like one hand to the other. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Does it feel good?
Yeah, it felt great. It felt awesome. And like same thing with, there was like a machine gun, and with one hand I'd fire it and they would sort of like go wild, but with my other hand I could steady it, and then my aim was it worked really well.
So I've told you about this before, Marty, but I don't know if I've told you too. There's this thing called zero latency in Australia, which is basically like this giant warehouse that they turn into a VR space. There's like 120 cameras or something rigged up to the ceiling that watch you at all times. You have an Alienware backpack and a VR headset. So because it's in your backpack, it's effectively wireless, and you have a gun, and you move around that space without really being connected to anything. And it does the kind of thing that the Vive does, where if you walk towards a wall, it just comes up with this giant thing that says, "Don't go here." And it's a zombie shooter. The game itself is terrible, but I mean, it's just like really boring environments and dumb zombies. But the fact that it works is amazing, and I would way prefer to play something with an Alienware backpack.
Like carry your PC on your back?
Yeah, than to have to be attached to cords. Because it worked super well. I'm pretty sure it was Oculus, and it was super effective, and I just haven't heard of anything else that's done that, but they managed to get it to work in, I think it was like 3 years or something. And there is zero latency.
Yeah, there's a thing like that in Salt Lake City too. It might be literally the same company that has one in America.
Probably a few all around the world, I would think.
Yeah, seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the one in Salt Lake City is the one that has which I think is really dumb. They have actual objects. So in the one that dangerous. I played, they simulate objects, right?
Yeah.
So like some people will walk through cylinders or walk through tables. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I just had like this weird thing where
even though you're in a giant empty room,
but I was like, I cannot do it. But the one that's in America that I've heard a bit about actually has objects in the room. Like, what the hell is the point in that?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're going to simulate it. Why have it there?
Yeah,
that could be a similar, like an alternative to use for how Vive technology works, as opposed to having that in your home. Having it in a shared like laser tag or
like an amusement park sort of thing.
I definitely think they're going to do a lot of that. Arcade,
or like a paintball style thing where it's like, you go rent the equipment and go and experience it with a bunch of people.
Yeah, it was a big social thing.
I absolutely think they'll do that.
That'd be cool.
Like having it in an arcade, the game that you were talking about would work really well.
Oh, totally.
Well. Like anything that's kind of like Time Crisis, effectively in VR will work perfectly well. It's just
anything that has stylish
jammy.
stuff like that, right? Like where you can throw guns and you can catch bullets and you can throw the bullets back.
Yeah.
Like, watching people do that stuff feels really cool. And like I love watching you play Superhot because it's like totally different than how I play because you're doing things differently or you're using the environment, you yell a lot, way more profane.
Started speaking Polish.
Like that cool Polish song?
It's a very cool Polish song.
But on the topic of it being really germy and us not wanting to touch it.
It's Polish, not Germany.
Marty! Of it being germy in like arcades or in retail, That's like the same way that I feel about playing Time Crisis in an arcade. It's like, I don't want to touch the gun because some like gross kid
Literally
has done
never
it.
thought about that.
I
Wow,
always
really?
think about that.
Yeah, arcades are ruined for me
So
now
I
forever.
always come to
Pinball
work.
machines.
We get
No,
the,
kids are very clean.
I get the train to work with Max and Chastity every day, and then first thing I do is wash my hands because I'm like, I was just on public transport. And
First
I
thing
touched
Max
a bunch
does
of
is lick his hands.
stuff. Yeah, he just licks them.
He licks his hands. He gets his cool hair going
Really
on.
strange. But it's like, I'm so conscious of that, and I don't feel like it's any different to the current situation that we have with arcades where you're touching a bunch of stuff other people
Clearly
have
not worried
touched.
about that. I ate a burrito off the floor last night. I don't
He
care.
literally had to burrito off the floor. It was-
What?
The current
It was-
situation with arcades is there are no arcades. So
Aren't they?
I mean, they're
Really?
dwindling.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, we still have a lot in Australia.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I envy that.
I
a
actually
lot.
haven't seen any in San Francisco.
Nothing. There's one in the city, I think.
Oh,
There's the
that's so
Musée
sad.
Mécanique, which is like a arcade
penny arcade
museum
thing up in
yeah.
the Wharf?
Yeah,
That thing is cool.
Nickelodeon. That place is really
Penny
cool.
arcade?
It's a Nickelodeon. Like it's like almost like an arcade history museum. So a bunch of
cool.
super
Yeah.
old, like turn of the century arcade games.
Wow, that's cool.
There's like really ancient, like Viewmaster stuff that you can go watch.
Yeah.
Nice.
All the old, like whatever the things were in Bioshock Infinite, where you like dump your head into this like short moving picture.
Yeah, the
Oh
zoetropes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's also like old, what they considered pornography,
Oh,
which
that
is like the
stuff
most
is
like
so
PG
good.
stuff ever.
Really?
Like a
Like,
girl struts on screen, like lifts her dress up and wiggles her ankle. Woo-hoo-hoo.
yeah, it's great. Porn's the best.
I don't know if you guys saw this thing from the Vive performance test. Did you see anything else that was in there aside from the performance test? The performance test
Is it
itself.
more Half-Life 3 leak garbage?
Yes, it is.
Yes, of course it is.
So the performance test itself is just, it's the Portal demo that they've shown 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see bits and pieces of it in low res so it can figure out your specs. But the files that it installs to your computer is the same stuff that went up last time, all of this stuff, right? Like the L4D3 folder, the HL3.txt folder. Okay, so this is probably nothing. But also, Valve knows this stuff is in there.
Yeah.
So either they're just being jerks, or there is something, there was stuff.
I mean, they've been jerks about this a million times, though, right?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, there has been stuff like there's no way they didn't start and stop
Oh, of
development
course.
on those things. So it's like, of course, there are things that exist at Valve. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why people are like, oh my gosh, there's something about like they mentioned the 3 letters HL3. It's like of course,
Yeah.
why not?
I mean, because you had like Clint Hawking there for like what 5 years.
Yep.
Like he probably did something.
Have you guys talking? Have
You guys talking about it yet?
You talking about
Have
Jeremy?
you spoken about Half-Life a bunch on this podcast already?
A little bit. We talked about the HL3.txt leak or whatever it
I
was
feel
that
like
got pumped to
just
Dota
at this
2.
point, it's not worth Valve's money to actually make that game.
It's also not their business.
what the-
I mean, it's worth their money if they're like, "Hey, here's Portal 3 and Half-Life 3 Vive exclusive." That's how you.
That.
That's how you move $800
Although
pieces
they-
of hardware.
If they announced
Yeah.
Half-Life 3 for Vive and just dropped that,
They
I
have
would-
specifically said they're not doing that.
Have they really?
Which I was surprised by because I thought
Oh, it works so well.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that if they do those, they will do what they've done with the last 2 Half-Life games, which is
Make them
to
VR compatible.
well, they they didn't do those, but what they did with the last 2 Half-Life games was to basically reinvent the shooter format and kind of revolutionize it. I mean, you look back at Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, and there's a clear like pre-Half-Life school of shooters and a post-Half-Life school of shooters.
and a pre and post of Half-Life 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they when those games came out, they changed the way shooters were made because they showed you can do new things with it. And if there is a Half-Life 3,
There probably isn't an opportunity to do that at this point.
well, VR is the opportunity. It's
Right.
like if
Yes,
Valve
VR is.
if Valve decides, hey, we want to show the world how to make a VR shooter in a way that nobody has done yet, and we're going to perfect this and show the way forward. I think that's how they'll do it. But I'm not. I'm not convinced they're going to do that either.
Neither,
Yeah.
but God, I wish they would.
Yeah, it'd
if
be
they,
great.
If they released a bundle of Portal 3, Left 4 Dead 3, and Half-Life 3 for Vive, I would build a PC
At this
for
point,
that.
I don't even want a full game, right? Like, I just want an epilogue to the end of episode 2.
You mean in episode 3? Half-Life 2 episode 3 is what you want.
But it doesn't even need to be like a full whatever, right? Like those episode 1 and episode 2, I think were like 2 to 5 hours each. And I don't necessarily need that. I just want closure on that cliffhanger. Because at this point, that's all I care about. Like, make a new Half-Life game that's a great shooter. I want that too. But more than anything, like, I just want resolution on that story. Because it goes in such a cool direction that they never paid off.
Yeah.
And it's just
because
highway of robbery.
I totally get why everyone wants Half-Life 3. It's just not worth it for them unless it's VR. It's people are going to hate it no matter what
Sure.
because the hype's so built.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And also, it's just their time is better spent doing everything else that makes them tons of money than developing that
Right, they're
game.
going to focus on Dota
Well,
majors. They're going to focus
I
on
just don't think
Counter-Strike
there's a point,
updates.
you know?
They're going to focus on free-to-play stuff.
Well, I
and
mean,
hardware.
they have a bunch of people at Valve. Some of them are game developers. Some of them are hardware developers. Some of them are software engineers. Like the game developers are probably doing something or leaving. So and they still have a bunch of people who make games there. So they're doubtlessly working on something.
Well, they're working on Dota 2, and they're working on TF2, and they're working on Counter-Strike.
That's what I would think. Updates for
well,
existing
I mean,
games.
Counter-Strike is done by Hidden Path.
I think Valve is involved.
Yeah, they're definitely involved, but that's Hidden Path.
I was going to say they're the publisher. Like, they publish all things. That's true.
But yeah,
Producer?
I doubt very much that all the game developers working there are just updating.
Oh,
their own stuff.
there's absolutely secret projects, and that's kind of where this
For VR, probably.
weird VR
Right.
amalgamation of stuff comes from. Is like Valve was very obviously using old assets from Half-Life 2 and Left 4 Dead 3 or whatever it was, right? Like they brought this stuff in. There's a dog model because dog is the best. And there's like a head tracking test that is just dog in an environment walking around. And it's like, okay, cool. They took Half-Life 2 stuff, they ported it to Source 2, and now it works in VR. It's just tests. And a lot of people are losing their minds like, this means Half-Life 3. It probably doesn't mean Half-Life 3. It probably means Valve was tinkering with stuff when they needed assets to tinker with.
Yeah.
But there's also like never before seen stuff in there, like different character models and levels and things like that.
Yeah, they've got artists who are doing stuff. It's like, again, it's just like, why is this a surprise that they have some stuff for Half-Life 3 that they've probably started and stopped 15 times?
It's not even necessarily that people are surprised. They are, but I think it's just they're interested in whatever. Like, Valve is such a mystery that to know literally anything about what they're doing is interesting.
But the stuff that they're pointing to here it doesn't tell us anything. Like, it is a text file.
There is some interesting stuff. So for me, sorry, Marty, they did a bunch of stuff with the Dota 2 International 5 stage, where it's like they built the stage and they built the player things, they built the Jumbotron, and it's like, cool, you could conceivably watch the International in VR, like as though you were at Key Arena.
But that's not Half-Life or Left 4 Dead or anything. It's like, it's not
but that's awesome for people like me who care.
It is
specifically.
It's neat stuff, but it's not the stuff that people were excited about. It's like, oh my god, Half-Life 3. And it's like, no, that's not. No, so stop.
You know, I kind of feel like the Half-Life 3 thing, because I agree with you. I think every time that there's something that's like, ooh, this is a thing that existed, I'm like, yeah, I feel like they would have been working on that for a long time. I'm not surprised things exist. I feel like it's just a community thing. It's like people being like, this is a thing that we like. Let's all get excited about it all the time. I don't think it's a
meme. It's a joke.
Basically, it's a meme, yeah. So it's not a thing that I think people take that seriously. They're just super excited about anything they can find so that they can share it with that community. Mm-hmm. So it's just an internet culture thing more than people actually thinking that it's amazing that Half-Life 3 files exist.
Also, has anything ever lived up to the hype? Or has anything ever been worth the wait?
That's why it will fail.
Like,
basically.
literally, has any game ever...
Releasing Half-Life 3 is like asking people to hate you.
Yeah.
I would say Dragon Age Origins is a pretty good example of that.
Was it that long?
That was in development for a long time. And you can even tell, like, going back and looking at it, like some of these areas were clearly made years before everything else because the graphics just aren't as good.
Yeah.
The Last Guardian?
That hasn't lived up to anything yet.
We don't know if Last Guardian or Final Fantasy 15.
Team Fortress 2 is another one that was in development hell for a long time.
Yeah.
And we saw versions of that were just straight up World War II, like photorealistic.
What was huge at the time?
Yeah, and it was iterated on and then became a huge hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are definitely examples of things that have come out of these disastrously protracted development cycles and been okay or been good.
Yeah.
Because I haven't played Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins is the first one.
Yeah.
09.
And then people didn't really like 2.
Correct.
Is that right? I brought them both to the US with me, but I haven't played them yet.
Is Dragon Age 2 just called Dragon Age 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Inquisition's the third one?
Yes.
Which was announced as Dragon Age 3 and then changed.
Yeah. I mean, so
because EA.
But I mean, then there are plenty of examples where things did not really come together very well.
Yeah.
I feel like Destiny is also it's different in that it
Sure.
didn't go through development hell, but
that one didn't even have that long.
If it
of
weren't
a-
so hyped, it might
Sure.
have been
Yeah.
received differently.
Well, yeah, that one just
Watch
didn't even
Dogs.
have that long, and Watch Dogs either didn't even have that long of an announcement.
But they
to
still had a
reveal.
lot of hype.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it really screwed them over.
Well, and Watch Dogs got into trouble for showing a vertical slice tech demo that wasn't really representative of what the final game became. So if you set all these sky high expectations and then don't hit them, it's like, that's going to create some backlash.
Whereas like they haven't really done anything like that for Half-Life, and that they haven't really said anything.
They've made no promises whatsoever, including that there will be a game.
Yeah.
But like you can go back even further. Daikatana, like that was John Romero will make you his bitch. And
good old John.
And then he did not.
Sure didn't.
Yeah, so it's like, I
am no one's bitch.
There are a lot of examples of things just spinning out of control in development. And it's like finally they shove it out the door. I mean, to a lesser extent, BioShock Infinite had that problem. That game was in development for a long time.
How many times was that delayed?
Oh God, many 100,000.
Yep.
I feel like it was 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it's at least 4. Yeah,
it's somewhere between 4 and 100,000.
Yeah,
and that game came out good. But
it came out really good, but it just was
But it wasn't like it certainly didn't meet everybody's expectations.
And it was definitely a different game.
Than even what they showed originally with the Terra's being dynamic and Elizabeth being more dynamic.
Yep.
And also that's another example of that reminded me when you said parts of the game looking significantly better, like the lighthouses at the end of Infinite. I'm like, oh, you probably developed this really recently because this looks way better than anything else in the game.
The lighting in here is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they learned a lot of tricks along the way. Oftentimes, developers will make the opening of a game last or do another pass on it.
Yeah.
Because they'll have learned so much making everything else. And
hey, let's go back and
let's make the first impression of our game
incredible.
I think they did that with The Last of Us, right? I think they made that first and then went back and
remade it almost. Yeah, totally. Yeah, because that opening's gorgeous.
Game.
Yeah.
Cool. Alana, you're reviewing a game that is available in VR, but have you played much with Superhot in VR yet?
No, not at all.
I played it in VR.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was at E3 like 2 years ago.
Still,
right.
back when it was like a browser game or whatever.
No, it was a
Game Jam game originally.
It was a Game Jam game, and then it got released on a browser, and then it was kickstarted for $250,000, and then it released. By the time this is up, it will be out. Yeah. So it's been through like a weird cycle, but it's obviously the release now is designed for VR. So if you played it 2 years ago, I don't know how different it would be.
I played it on the Oculus DK2.
Mm-hmm.
Have we literally said what the game's name is yet?
Superhot.
Okay. Did you say it?
Pronounced super hot.
One more
Say
time.
it. Super hot.
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 HAWT. Hot. Hot.
Super hot. Yeah, that's how they say it. They yell it at you very often. Very often.
Well, it's actually spelled how super hot.
Super hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway.
What is going on? I'm sorry.
So yeah, I want to give a quick rundown on what it actually is,
so
because it's a cool concept.
Sure. It's a really cool concept. It's basically, I think the tagline they have on the website is the FPS where time stops when you do. Kind of not true. Time doesn't actually stop.
It's real slow.
It's a bit of a lie.
I think there is an option to make that true though, where it's like,
stop?
because there's an option you can turn on an option where it's like time does not progress when you look around.
I don't think it does anyway.
No.
Regardless.
I might be misremembering.
Effectively, it's a game where you have kind of really contained levels. Like one of my favorite ones was you're in an elevator. There's 3 enemies, one either side of you and one in front of you, and you have to take out each of them. They all have pistols. And you have to take out each one of them without them getting you first, meaning
It's
that you
the
have
Captain America Winter Soldier scene.
Basically, except that you're not Captain America. So you just have to, because time moves really slowly if you don't move, that whole time you're just like watching to see which of the enemies is raising their pistol first, and then you'll go like take a tiny little step, because if you step, time moves quickly, so you walk over a little bit, and then you'll like punch that guy and then try and steal his gun, but stealing his gun might mean that time speeds up too quickly and the others shoot you. So it's just like you have to like really, really carefully take steps to do every single thing that you do, so that you're aware of what all your enemies are doing at every point in time, because if you play it like a regular shooter, which I think you were saying you kept wanting to do, you just die. You don't really stand a chance.
Yeah, I kept trying to break the habit, right? Because early on, I'm just like running around and trying to punch guys and grab pistols, and I'm like, I'll probably be fine. I probably won't get shot. I shot constantly.
Yeah, the fastest action, or the action that takes up the most time, is picking something up. So every time that I would go to like pick up an item, because sometimes you don't have one, and hitting someone with an object will make them drop whatever gun they have. But that, like the motion of, because you have to complete the full action, it doesn't like slow time while you're grabbing it.
Yeah.
So that can take like 1 second, and in that 1 second, someone can run into the room and shoot you.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's
Yeah,
just
1
such
second
a
of you
risk.
picking thing up is a bullet leaving a chamber and
Yes.
entering
Exactly,
your
because
skull.
it's such a risk.
It all does play out in real time, right? Because when you finish a level, it shows you the full complete playthrough in real time.
Which is like 10 seconds.
Yeah, or less.
Shorter, usually, it's super short. It's just that,
Super short.
super short. It's just one of my favorite things in it is if someone's like shooting at you and then you dodge every individual bullet, because you can do that when you're playing. Most shooters, they shoot so fast that you can't even see bullets. You just die.
You just take your damage, and
aiming
the
at you
screen
and you
lights
die.
up red.
Yeah, but in this, it's like someone will come at you with a machine gun, or like I think it's a kind of burst rifle, and it'll have individual bullets coming at you, and if you strafe in the right way, you can avoid every single bullet
so cool.
as it's coming towards you, and then shoot them. And it's
Very
like,
Matrix.
yeah, totally Matrix.
And it feels
it's
so
really cool.
good to
Yeah.
do that. Like, knowing that you were spatially aware of everything around you enough to like walk through a string of bullets in a game where one will kill you. Like, if
Yeah.
you get hit by anything, a punch, a melee weapon, or a bullet or whatever, you're dead instantly.
That's real life.
That's why that
real
goddamn
life.
elevator was so hard, because it's like you try and grab a gun so you can shoot someone, and then the guy that you just disarmed to grab the gun punches you.
Yeah.
You're just like, God.
I just ended up, my tactic for that one was I just looked at the guy on the left and punched him, guy on the right and punched him, guy in the middle punched him, grabbed a gun, shot them all. Elevator doors open, shoot the other guys on the outside.
I feel like it was not that.
Easy.
You made it sound so much easier than it was. Because I'm pretty sure, like, by the time I'd punched the 3 guys, the first guy was ready to punch me
Oh,
again.
man.
It was just like, ah! But that one took a while, but it was super cool.
So it sounds like it's a puzzle. God, yeah. Damn it.
It's absolutely a puzzle.
A puzzle game in
Definitely.
FPS clothing.
Like, even more
Yeah.
so than Hitman is a puzzle game that is sort of like a stealth shooter thing. Like,
Yeah.
That's actually a good point, yeah.
It's very much a puzzle game because it's instances with very set solutions, and then you can tinker with it in different ways. Because Alana might grab a gun off a table that I didn't know existed, so instead I'm running through an area and I'm just like throwing beer bottles at somebody while I'm trying to find something. Or I might find an area of the level that nobody
Has
ever found.
weapons or doesn't have weapons.
Yeah. And you might find like a gun rack in the back room that has a shotgun. And it's like, you probably won't because it takes so much time to get there. But if you do, you're rewarded with an interesting new approach to the level because now the guys are swarming to you.
Majority of the time you won't get there because to get there you have to run there.
Yeah,
It's
like
all
each
the
step
things that
is
can
a
happen while
commodity.
you
Right,
run.
like
Yeah.
you're usually so occupied with killing the nearest guy as soon as possible because they're
Yeah.
so dangerous that you don't think about exploring the levels. But there are things to find in these very contained spaces.
And it can be like you versus like 15, sometimes more than that,
Yep.
and they're all in different places. So it's just like if you were to play that in real time, it would be absolutely impossible. But then you watch your replay, and I mean the replay is in real time.
And it's like
just that
watching
your
a
steps are so
pro
broken up,
Quake
and you're
match
like,
or something.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like I did that. It's really cool.
It's like John Wick, like those action
Yes.
scenes. Like imagine, maybe this will help people who can't actually look at this game right now. But imagine like a John Wick action scene where he would like punch somebody and then stop and think about what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
And you get to take as much time as you want basically to figure out, okay, who am I going to punch next? What am I going to grab next and throw in somebody's face?
rather than making decisions really quickly. And I kind of wonder if people who are smarter would be faster at it because they make decisions faster, so they don't need to slow the game down.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the same as we make decisions in real time. You just are given more time because it's slow. So it's like I feel like if you were a really intelligent person, you could finish a level super quickly because that decision making is a lot faster.
Yeah, and it's similar to any like turn-based tactics game, except the turns are dynamic, right? You get to pick when you go and when you stop.
Yeah. It's similar to the John Wick thing too. Like it reminds me, I think it was the second Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr. Like it wasn't
Totally
very
like
good,
that.
but it had that like
Someone saw that?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, sadly.
I know the exact part.
Andrew
you're
Goldfarb was
referring
in
to.
it.
But it had this like really awesome gimmick throughout where he would do the Sherlock Holmes thing of like visualizing the crime scene, right? Like he figured out exactly how it happened and who was doing what because of he's so perceptive. But he did that in like a fist fight.
Yeah.
Where he figured
and
out
it
like
actually slowed down while you were
yeah, and
doing
he
it.
slows down. He's like, okay, if I do this and this and this, he'll react like this. I'll respond, and it shows him thinking this through. And then the next scene is just him doing
Executing
it.
it.
And it's amazing.
That's super hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I know you guys both hated the story.
It's so dumb.
Oh, it's really bad.
it's one of those stories that's just like, get out of my way.
Okay, when you finish it, I feel like this isn't a spoiler because no one's gonna play it for the story. It tells you to advertise the game as part of like the plot. It's like, oh, now it's your duty to tell all of your friends to play Superhot. You must spread the virus or whatever. And it's like, this is really just super distasteful. Like, I'm just not gonna do that. It's super gross. It's like
Stop saying super.
doesn't have doesn't have like any self-awareness, and the whole
Well,
thing's
It's
I
like
mean-
so self-aware that it loses track of itself.
I mean,
maybe.
you did write a positive review, so you are telling all
I
your friends
am
to play
actually
Superhot.
telling
You're
people to
spreading
play
the
it.
virus.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. But it does all the dumb stuff of like even more so than Hotline Miami or any BioShock game or whatever, right? Like any game or Spec Ops, anything that is like you're in a video game, you're listening to the designers. Like I would say even more than the Magic Circle, this game is overt and stupid about how it handles
Oh, yeah,
like
it literally
you're
says,
not in
"Dance,
control. Dance, dog. You're gonna do what I say. Good dog.
Because it literally says all of those things. It doesn't
Yes.
just imply them. It actually, like, giant text comes up on the screen and tells you that. And you're like, shut up.
like it's
Just let me play the game.
like the unsubtlety of it is so annoying and stupid and like takes away from how genius the rest of the
I
game
thought
is.
if that happened in the 90s, people would have loved it.
Oh yeah,
But it's like now
Definitely.
it's just like, just leave me alone.
Just stop.
Which is also kind of funny because part of it is that like you're supposed to be super addicted and you can't stop playing. So it's like in every part that I was like, just let me play the game. I'm like, wait, it's right. I really do want to play it. It was really dumb. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's because it was a browser-based game and then they made it a full release. It's like, it would have been better like Angry Birds, where it's just you finish a level and then you unlock the next level and it's slightly harder. That would have been better than what it is.
But the other complaint you had about it was that there's just not enough kind of new spins on the mechanic.
Right. There's only
Which-
it only ever introduces one new thing, which is the ability to possess someone, which kind of means that you can just look at an enemy and jump into their body, and
It's like PsyOps. Gotta love that game.
This is real good.
and it introduces that pretty late, but then you never actually. I think there's only one level where you actually need it. You can still play everything without ever needing it. Whereas if like something like Portal introduces a new object or the orange goop that makes you bounce.
Yeah.
I think orange is bounce and blue is slide.
Yeah, it you have to use those in future levels, whereas the possession thing is just like here's the thing that
Yeah.
makes this slightly easier.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Like the best puzzle games are the ones that like teach you a rule and
you
you
follow
don't
the rule.
realize you are mastering the rule, and before you realize you've mastered the rule, it already builds another rule on top of it.
Yeah, it doesn't do that at all because it still kind of thinks that it's a shooter. So what it does to get harder is it just adds more enemies and more difficult environments, but never in a way that was as challenging as I wanted it to be. It
Yeah.
never got frustrating, really. Which is also partly because it's super rewarding and respawns are like instant. So that's good. But
Super rewarding.
I can't stop saying super now.
You've said super a lot.
Yeah, I really have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also just way too short. So it's only 32 levels. You can finish it in 4 hours.
It's not short.
mean,
you had an
yeah.
addiction. You just wanted the virus. Man.
Well,
Stop playing.
I mean, arguably, like it being short is a good thing because if it were longer and didn't introduce any new ideas, then it would just get repetitive and boring.
That's true.
So-
but I think the
kinda
point
don't
of like
think that it would.
What if it had more systems though? Like what if it
Right.
did?
Well,
what if
that's
it
the
kept
point.
being as smart as it thought it was?
Yeah.
That's the point. Like you need to throw in those new ideas, new spins on that same idea. Otherwise, just making a game longer is just repetitive.
I mean,
It doesn't necessarily.
what I would have asked for was different kinds of enemies.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than different.
Yeah, like what if there were dudes with like riot shields that you could only kill from behind or something?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. That
Or
would
even like dudes that came from above.
yeah.
That they never really tinker with
Dogs?
that a lot. Dogs would be cool. Don't kill.
There's a
dogs.
lot of stuff in it that
Robot monkeys?
makes
Yeah,
sure that it's
robo-monks.
easy. Like when an enemy spawns, the area they spawn from will glow red, or they are bright red and everything else is white. And when they die, it shatters. It's like a
it's so
fast sound.
satisfying.
It is
Yeah.
really
So
nice. There's a lot
satisfying.
of stuff that is there to make sure that it's not too hard. And I kind of wonder if it's what they originally built was really hard and frustrating, so then they toned it back. Because if I didn't
be.
know where enemies were spawning from, I would have died a lot more
insane.
times
Yeah,
than
yeah.
I did. Because you have to kind of be aware of where everyone is at every point in time. So what it is very cool. It just feels unfinished, or I want to say kind of lazy.
Well, it's not. I mean, lazy is a nasty
The
word. for it.
mechanic's great.
Right. But I think the idea is just that they didn't really capitalize on the idea that they had.
I think they didn't know necessarily, right? They didn't
Sure.
anticipate it to become as well liked as it is, and they were like, oh no, I guess we got to make more of this. So they made as much as they could without it sort of overstaying its welcome.
But I mean, it was a Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's true, and it was only $250,000, which is not a lot of money
That's
to
true.
make a video game.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they had have added different kinds of enemies, I think that would have changed it a lot.
Sure.
But
I guess I commend them for being judicious with the $250,000 they had.
yeah, I'm still, regardless of the issues that it does have, I still totally recommend
Yeah,
it.
the game
I think
is
it's really fun.
super good.
hot.
Check back in 2018 for a review of the sequel, Superhots.
Well,
I like that.
I don't know, Dan, if we will re-review it when it comes out on VR.
My current thinking is to do separate VR reviews because the interaction with things is so different.
It's really different.
Just to circle back, when I did play it on the DK2, like one of the things they were showing off was the positional head tracking, which it always tracks like what direction you're looking in, but not necessarily where your head is in like if you move your head side to side, it didn't know. The DK1 did not know that. The DK2 and the consumer version do, and that made it like I was playing it sitting down, but like there was a bullet coming at my head, so instead of like stepping to the side, I just slumped down in my chair and it passed over my head.
Just took a nice nap.
That's good.
I just went and it was,
I would have loved to be able to do
Riveting
that.
for the audio, no doubt.
I described it first.
That's really good.
That would like save me a lot.
Yeah.
That would have helped, but the game is obviously designed for VR in that the story is kind of VR focused. It has like a VR part in the menu.
Sure,
It's definitely
yeah.
meant to be a VR game.
Yep.
And I think it'll play pretty well, though it has a lot of, it's really pixelated in all the cutscenes, and there's like a lot of transitions that are just bright white. I'm like, I wonder if this will
That sounds
blind
awful
people.
in VR.
Yeah.
the first VR death.
Yeah. Camera cuts in VR are really, really, really
Just like
jarring.
really, really bright and
Yeah, that's just an example of like how different playing a game in VR is going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like something could be a great 2D game that just doesn't work in VR, or vice versa. So
Is this going to work from the get-go on Oculus when it comes out in March?
I believe
idea.
so. I mean, it worked.
I assume so.
It worked like a year or two ago.
Well,
so
yeah, the
don't
way
know
that
what-
I was playing it was the whole time, like the screen was bent because it was on VR
Sure,
settings.
yeah.
So it's, I assume it probably works straight away.
Cool.
Cool.
Hopefully.
We got to get out of
Super
here. There's another podcast
cool.
coming in here right after us. Look forward to IGN's podcast Unlocked, our Xbox podcast starring me and Marty.
I'm not on
today.
this one.
Not today.
No.
We're replacing him with a real cool guest, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can find Marty on Twitter at McBiggity, 2 G's, 2 T's. You can follow Alana on Twitter.
Twitter.
On Twitter.
Twitter's what they call it in Australia.
Great. As Charlon Azard, I am at Mitchie D. Dan is at Dan Stapleton. Anybody working on anything really cool, really big we need
Nah.
to share with the world? Me either.
No.
Eh.
Nah.
Nah.
Oh, we're doing top 90 cartoon characters of the 90s.
That's true.
I
Also,
wrote something about Vegeta.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Love Vegeta.
Also,
Yeah,
our
he's
top
awesome.
25 PC
Have you ever seen his hair?
modern PC
Goes
games
up.
thing is live.
Yeah.
Go check that out. Go yell at us for all the things we forgot or missed. Or where's Half-Life 2?
Well, it's kind of a goofy list because when you get a bunch of people with really crazy divergent tastes in a room, it becomes.
What'd
like
y'all put as
nobody's
number
list.
one?
Dota 2.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Mitch went to the CMS.
Portal 2.
That's a
Portal
good one.
2.
That's
Okay.
I approve.
Yeah.
Portal
That's
2
a
is
good
a
one.
real good Vigi.
Yeah.
It is good Vigi.
Cool. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening. This has been IGN Overclocked. We're here every week, and we'll be back at you next week. Thank you. Goodbye. I love you.
Aw.